I'm digging that.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's.
Did the CIA write Wind of Change by the Scorpions?
As humans busied themselves about the various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied.
Dr. Loeb, what percentage chance do you give it that you have indeed uncovered extraterrestrial or non-human technology?
With infinite complacence, people went about their affairs, yet across an immense ethereal gulf, intellects vast and unsympathetic drew their plans against us.
Prior to your abduction, did you believe in UFOs or any sort of alien life form?
All Things Unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
Hello, all of you unexplained ones out there. Thank you for joining us. I just love that intro music. I can't help but dance every time it comes on. I'm so glad the screen goes black when that happens so nobody can see me. And yes, the new intro is fantastic. Thanks for putting that together, Dr. Mounts. It's me, CJ Derringer. I am here with my co-hosts, Smitty Neves and Dr. Mounts, and we have a very exciting show for you. We are diving into the paranormal, y'all, with none other than Cody Sharpe, paranormal investigator, the writer for Paranormality Magazine. He's got his own podcast. We have so much to unearth with you, and we are so thankful that you have joined us. Welcome, Cody.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yay. We are wanting to know, first and foremost, how did you become interested in all things paranormal? And what does paranormal mean to you?
So the paranormal is, to me, is like spirits and demons and hauntings, poltergeists, whatever you all want to call it. I got into it. So my first ever experience was when I was 10. I had a dream that my grandfather had passed away, and the next day got the call that he did. So kind of started reading, spooky stories and all that stuff, watched Ghost Hunters, watched Ghost Adventures, and I was like, I want to do this. And then last year had saw a post online, hey, come join us on an investigation at the Indiana State Sanatorium. So I called the wife and I said, hey, let's go do this. I know it's really expensive, but let's go do it. And here we are now.
Normally it's the other way around. The wife's like, I've got this really expensive thing I want to
do. She has expensive habits, but it's okay. I love her.
So that's interesting that you had this vision almost of your grandfather's passing before it happened. Have you had other visions like that, or was that the only one for you?
I've had people come to me in my dreams. I just had it happen recently with a family member that passed away. My grandmother passed away back in June, and last week I had a dream where she came to me saying that she's in heaven and that she's all good, and to not worry about her. So,
that's a nice dream. So paranormal investigation sounds like fairly new to you. You dove into this last year. What does paranormal investigation look like, and what are you looking for?
So paranormal investigation for me is I want the answers of what happens after we die, what the afterlife is like. I like going into these buildings and getting the stories of, the history of the buildings, and then communicating with its eternal residents and finding out their stories and just communicating. You get a lot of people that just do this for the thrill. I do it for the communication. Like as humans, we want interaction with people. And I don't think when we die, we lose that.
Yes, that's wonderful. Smitty and Tim, have you guys ever been in a building that you felt like you were having some sort of interaction with the paranormal or people who had passed before us?
Yeah, I might have a few times, but we used to have a house that was haunted down here, down the road from us, and it was pretty creepy when you go in there. Except the people still inhabited the house, but they believed a ghost of a Native American was living in the house, and it was pretty. It gave you kind of an eerie feeling, put it that way, to be in there, and because they had legitimate story after story after story of things that had taken place in that house, and so it was eerie.
Well, I know for me, the creepiest place that I've ever been to that I got the distinct feeling that there are other souls around me was in Shiloh, Tennessee, where Smitty can tell you one of the bloodiest battles of the Civil War took place. And there's a spot there called Bloody Pond because so many soldiers passed away and their blood was flowing across the land, and it literally turned the pond blood red. And Smitty, how many soldiers were killed at the Battle of Shiloh? Do you remember?
About 23,000 killed or wounded.
Yeah, 23,000. So that tells you, and I was there as the sun was going down one evening at Bloody Pond, and you got to think 23,000 souls lost their lives there, and every one of them in a horrific and gruesome way for the most part. And everywhere you're stepping there, somebody passed away. And I don't think there's many places on earth that you can really be somewhere with that much energy. And I can tell you for a fact that I felt like there were souls around me, and it was quite a haunting experience.
Yeah, Grant said at the peach orchard there, you could, I mean, that's a big field. You could go across the field, and if you wanted to, step on dead bodies, and your foot would never touch the ground. So many people were killed there.
Awful. That's tragic. So we had done a show. We had done a show on ghost stories, essentially. Gosh, last year maybe, I think. And afterwards, so many people started coming to me with their ghost stories. And one that really stuck with me was a friend of mine who lives here. And she told me that her grandfather had passed away in the home that he lived in with her grandmother. And the following year, she went to visit her grandmother, and she brought her newborn baby with her. And they were in the house, and she put the newborn baby to sleep in the room where the grandfather had passed away. And later that night, she was in bed in a different room, had the baby monitor on, what have you. And all of a sudden, she was freezing cold. Just, it felt like the entire temperature of the house had dropped 30 degrees, 40 degrees. And she sat up and she looked at the baby monitor. And on the baby monitor, there was an orb flying above, hovering above the baby's bassinet, or pack and play, or whatever it was in. So she got up and ran to the room, couldn't actually see anything in the room, and went back to her bed, couldn't sleep at all. The next day, didn't want to tell grandma about it, didn't want to upset her, but told her siblings about it. And in the middle of the day, she put her daughter down for a nap, and all of a sudden they were all sitting in the family room, and the temperature dropped in the entire house, and they all looked at each other, and they ran over to the baby monitor, and that orb was again hovering above the bassinet. And again, they went in there, couldn't actually see it, but they could see it on the actual camera. What do you make of that in terms of investigations that you have done? Are you seeing things picked up on technology that we can't see with the naked eye?
Yes, I've caught some questionable things on camera, whether is it an orb or a disembodied voice. It's phenomenal. I think we're in the golden age of the paranormal investigations because we have all this fancy technology that we can actually use to do paranormal investigations. Like the iPhone, what I carry, it has a 4K camera, and everybody's got a camera in their pocket now. So I think we see a lot more evidence, but obviously, in my opinion, that orb was the grandfather just watching over the great grandchild, and that's sweet and scary at the same time. So
yeah, it's almost like the grandfather was coming to meet its grandchild for the first time. So we are talking to Cody Sharpe. If you're just joining us, he is a paranormal investigator. He is the host of, is it the Sharpe Side of Paranormal? Did I get that right?
Yeah, the Sharpe Side of Paranormal.
The Sharpe Side of Paranormal podcast. If you have any questions for Cody, please do write them in all caps in our comment section so that we know that it's a question so that we can get to those at the end. Let's dive in a little bit further, Cody, in terms of what technology you do use when you're going to investigate paranormal activity. What's your toolkit? What do you bring with you?
I like to bring a little bit of everything. My wife is so mad. I've spent so much money on paranormal equipment, and it like most of it is like recording equipment. I bought a professional Canon 4K camera. I have probably 4 IR cameras that I can set up that are static. I just recently bought a security camera system that I can set up 4 different cameras, and it's got infrared, and it's another tool. My favorite like investigation. That's funny. I'm sorry, I was reading the comment. That's funny. Send them my way. My favorite one is the cat ball. If you guys aren't familiar with it, it's just a cat toy that when it gets any motion, if something touches it, it lights up. And that's my favorite one to use because they don't go off for no reason. So you'll have a spirit touch them and they'll just start going off. It's pretty cool. I get so excited when they go off. I love it.
Well, that's interesting. I've never heard of that. By the way, had listener Duncan Frere says, CJ, these orbs that are jacking the temperature down, and we can relate, being in the deep south saves on air conditioning bills in the summertime. Good point.
Cody, what's like, can you give us insight into what your most memorable experience has been as a paranormal investigator?
Yes. So I kind of mentioned it. I didn't say what it was in the pre-interview, but I said I had a pretty... So last year, my wife and I went to the Indiana State Sanatorium in Rockville, Indiana. And we were there with Ghost Hunts USA. And they split us up in like groups of 15, 20 people. And we did different rotations. And we were in the nursing home section. And they had us split up. Like each individual person was like in a doorway of patient rooms. Well, they put me inside the nurse's station, and it's dark. You know how your eyes kind of get accustomed to the dark. Well, there's a linen closet right inside the nurse's station, and it opens up, and this like white misty figure, like almost like a nurse, comes out of the closet, walks right past me. I screamed like a little girl. So loudly you could hear my wife down the hallway laughing at me because I was screaming. So then they moved me out into the intersection of these 4 hallways, and 6 other people witnessed this. The spirit, or this apparition, actually came out of the nurse's station, came up, put its hand on my shoulder, and then disappeared. What's even crazier than that, Smitty's face, that was my reaction. My left shoulder had been hurting, and the next day, no more pain.
Wow. That's crazy.
Wow.
Yes.
That's really similar to some on that show Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. We had some of the hosts of that show on. There was one ranch that they went to, and something similar had happened with some kind of ghost touching somebody and healing them. Crazy.
And we do have a listener question for Cody, if he's up for that. By the way, listener Duncan Frere says, oh, heck no, linen closet apparitions, best stay away.
Yeah, I agree, Duncan.
I'd just say maybe any apparitions, but especially closet apparitions. I feel like no good apparition comes out of a closet. Maybe that's just my poltergeist movie
I'll put
bias.
it this way, Cody, if you did better than I would, because I think I would have screamed and then ran out of the building and kept on going. But
it was dark. I couldn't see. Otherwise,
well, So you tried but failed. No, I'm kidding.
Yes, Angel, I am very excited to investigate with you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you for watching, buddy. I appreciate it.
So, listener Angel, am I saying that right? Angel or Angel? Yeah. Angel Morales says, is Cody, we're speaking of Cody Sharpe of the Sharp Side of Paranormal and writer for Paranormality Magazine. Angel says, is he excited to investigate with my fiance and myself at the Monroe house in 2 weeks? Cody, I feel like you should tell us a little bit about this.
So, Angel and his fiance, Lindsay, congratulations, guys, on the recent engagement. They were tour guides. Yes, Mike. I met them. I interviewed them. They were tour guides for Crescent, and their story is just the sweetest story. So they met at Crescent. Their first date was at Crescent, and their first kiss was at Crescent Sanatorium and Prison. So, yeah. And next year they're getting married.
That you left off the sanatorium and prison until the end.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. This was after it closed. Let's just say. And they're getting married at the Hinsdale house next August in Hinsdale, New York, which is I've been invited. So it's
family that's committed together stays together.
They just went crazy for each other.
I keep saying that a 72-hour hold would be a vacation at this point.
Oh, I hear you.
But going back to my ISS story, there is a
you wouldn't have to cook.
There's a second part to that.
Okay.
So that happened July of last year. I was back there in April of this year, and we were doing a Estes session out in front of the nurses station. And one of the guys that was with us, he did not know my previous story. And in the middle of it, he said, Cody, I don't want you to freak out, but I just saw like a white figure behind you in the nurses station.
You have a fan, Cody.
I do. Just one, and it scares the shit out of me.
Yeah. It hasn't hitchhiked, has it?
No, and that's the thing. My wife is so scared that I'm going to bring an attachment home.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I like to ground myself and burn some sage.
Yeah.
Are we still talking about paranormal, bringing home an attachment?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
That's how
paranormal attachment.
Do you think there's things about certain people that makes them more susceptible to these type of experiences than other people?
I think if you're more empathetic, so if you're an empath, I think you're more vulnerable to communicate with spirits, just based on my personal experience. I don't know if it was the fact that I was an EMT and, I helped people and that was my job. I wonder if they reach out to me like I'm there to help, and I am there to help them in a way to communicate their stories.
Maybe they're looking to you for some type of healing.
Maybe. It's one of the questions that I want to answer. I'm not doing this just for the fun. And don't get me wrong, I love paranormal investigations, but it's one of the questions I want answered. Like, what happens when we die? Like, why do certain people get stuck in certain locations? I would like to know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would like to know. It's a question a lot of people are trying to answer, whether through paranormal activity or not. But back to the Monroe house that you're going to investigate in 2 weeks. Where is that? What's it all about? What are you looking for?
So it is in Hartford City, Indiana, which is about an hour south of me. I have not done any research on this location. I wanted to try something new and go into a location like blind. I've heard some stuff about Monroe House, but I haven't done like in-depth research. So like I said, I want to try going in blind and seeing if what I'm picking up and what I'm getting correlates to what other people have said. and what is claimed to be there. And that's kind of what I did at Indiana State Sanatorium the first time. I went in blind, not knowing anything. And even though like Destination Fear, now Project Fear had gone there, and there was a documentary, I didn't watch any of that until after I went. And a lot of the experiences that they had are the same experiences I had, and in the same areas too. So that kind of, it's always nice to get corroborating evidence from different teams when you go to these locations, because it signifies that you're not crazy as you think you are. I mean, you're obviously crazy for going into these locations, but it's always nice to know that what I'm feeling and what evidence I gather is not just an abnormality. It's what everyone else is getting.
Is there anything that you think that would scare you out of this? Like that if you came across it in your investigations, you would be like, you know what? I'm out. I can't do this anymore.
Demonic. I haven't dealt with a demonic possession or demonic haunting. And I don't know if it would totally get me out of the paranormal, but it would definitely make me think twice. Because I do residential cases, and I had one that wasn't demonic, but it was a pretty dark one. And I had to call in some help from a team out of actually Maryland. And I live in Indiana. So Above and Below Paranormal, which I'm now a member of, they've graciously invited me to join. They were lucky to help me and were able to help the family out with, they had a pretty malicious spirit that was in their house, and we were able to take care of that.
Oh, can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. So I had gotten tagged on a Facebook post. So this family here in Fort Wayne, they're like, hey, we need somebody that does the paranormal. And one of the guys that I was on the fire department with had tagged me, and the dad reached out, and we had a conversation, and I went over there, and while I'm there were doors slamming and stuff moving, and like there was nobody there. Like, okay, that's pretty crazy. And it went downhill really quickly. The dad and one of the children both are mediums, and they have the ability to communicate with these spirits and stuff. But the spirits were the dad was channeling the spirit, so like it was almost borderline possession. It would take over his body, and there was a different voice coming out of the dad than what his actual voice was. It was pretty crazy, and we ended up cleansing it. It took multiple times of cleansing the house and eventually banishing the spirits. And yeah, it was not a pretty thing.
Now, what did that involve, Cody, cleansing the house? And are we talking religious artifacts or scientific instruments, or a combination of both?
Sage, we did a sage cleansing of the house, and then holy water on all the doors and windows. So it was more of a religious aspect. And that's the problem with, people in the religious community kind of frown upon people in the paranormal community, even though we're in a way part of the religious community, in a weird way, because a lot of these evil spirits, you're going to have to use religion to get rid of.
Right. That makes sense. And Cody, I think this is actually the perfect time that, let's say we have an individual or a family that is experiencing paranormal activity in their house and they're not sure how to handle it. What advice have you got for people that are going through something like this?
I would reach out to a paranormal team. Don't try to handle it yourself. and I'm no expert in this. I'm nowhere near an expert. And anybody that claims they're an expert in the paranormal community really isn't an expert. I mean, it's a newer science. And we still have a lot to learn. I mean, there are seasoned people in the paranormal community, but that doesn't make you an expert. I would reach out to a paranormal team, have them come in, see how they handle stuff, and just talk with them to figure out a plan of action. Usually it takes multiple visits to get a handle on it. It's not hey, we're here, type of Ghostbusters thing, come with the siren, and we take care of your space. It's not a one and done thing. It's multiple. You got to figure out what kind of spirit spirits you're dealing with. You got to figure out like any history with the house, because if there's bodies buried underneath the house or on the property, that's going to change up how you got to do different types of ceremonies. And what's great about the team that I'm on, Above and Below, we actually have a Native American shaman. So there's many different tools that we have available.
Let me ask all of you, because I've had so many friends sage their home. Like if they buy a new home, they might sage their home, or if they've experienced some sort of unwanted event in their home, they'll sage their home. What's the idea behind sage? Why do we think that sage works? I don't know if anybody can answer that.
It is a Native American practice. So technically, it is a closed practice from Native Americans, but and many other religions actually use sage as a cleansing. It is believed to cause the spirits it cleanses the air and gets rid of negative energy.
Okay.
Well, I want to know something, because this is the first I've ever heard of this, saging a home. But you have
really?
heard of this, CJ?
Oh yes,
yeah. And what does it entail? What does saging a home
literally
entail?
grab sage and light it on fire till it's smoking, and then you walk through the house and put the sage smoke through the house.
I know good and
the
well.
The first time I saw it, a friend of mine had bought a house in Arizona when I was living there, and her mom was like, I walked in, her mom was like saging the house. Like, what in the world is happening in here?
And there's a certain way to do it.
On some kind of movie. It's been on lots of different paranormal movies.
But you gotta not to give a bunch of the tools of the trade, but and I don't charge for residential cases, and honestly, if there are teams out there that charge for it, that's ridiculous. We're here to help people, not take advantage of their situation. But that's just me. But as far as saging, like, you got to have your windows open, and you got to do it in a certain order of which room and which direction, and you got to start in a certain area and work your way around the house. It's a whole ceremony.
We need the sage guidebook for the future. What was that, Cody? Don't be looking like that.
Did you guys hear that?
I heard something.
I did hear
it.
It's probably one of my. I hope it's one of my cats.
And we do have some listener advice from Angel Morales talking about saging. I think from top to bottom, work from back of the house to the front, and leave the door open. Well, I've never saged this house. It sounds like it's something I need to get on.
That makes sense, though. They leave the front door open and go from back to front.
Right. So you're kind of trying to push the spirits out.
Don't push them back toward the back. Push them out toward the door. So that makes sense. For those of you who are listening and are fans, you might not be aware that Cody has his own podcast. It's called The Sharpe Side of the Paranormal. Can you tell us a little bit about your show? What kind of guests you have on? The themes, those types of things. We want our fans to be a fan of yours also.
I love that. No, so the Sharpe Side of Paranormal, as far as the podcast goes, That's just going to be, that is just my interviews that I do for the magazine. So when I sit down with somebody, Angel is actually one of them. He was part of the Crescent interview that I did, but it's just my interviews. So that's all it is. And that's all and I don't discriminate of like, there's the story of Ghost Hunts USA that they were taking advantage of people when they closed down. And I interviewed a woman named Courtney. She had filed a dispute with her credit card company, Capital One, and they denied it because Ghost Hunts USA came back and said, "Oh, you got your goods and services," but she didn't. And it took me intervening and emailing their PR team being like, "Hey, what the heck?" And I actually got a response, and they actually gave her money back, which is great. Interviewed Crescent. I had an interview with a medium out of Missouri, Cassie. So once I start getting more interviews for the magazine published, then I post them online, so you can hear the whole thing.
Has the podcast opened other opportunities for you to go and do more paranormal investigations?
The podcast, no. The magazine,
yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I've been invited to investigations just because I am a writer for the magazine.
So I know you're diving into paranormal stuff as a new endeavor, but have you been writing for a long time? Are you now just merging the two passions, or is writing new for you as well?
I wrote, like in middle school, I was part of the school newspaper that we were trying to start up, but that's like, I'm really not, or EMS charts. That was like my extent of writing, but I had wrote the first story to ever get published for me was from paranormal, or from paramedicine to paranormal. And I had only submitted that to a couple of magazines just to publish it. And Chaz, the editor of my magazine, he emailed me. He's like, "Yeah, we like this story. We need it to be a little bit longer. Also, hey, do you want to come write for us?" And I'm like, I've never thought of myself as a writer, but here I am. And I found my niche or whatever you want to call it, doing interviews. And it's led to some pretty crazy stuff. I just interviewed Kalani, Ghost Hunter, last month, which he will be our cover in February. Ghost Club Paranormal, Jade and Mandy. They're pretty big on YouTube as well. They're going to be our cover story in January. So I've got 3 covers in like a 4-month span.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. My first cover is going to be our November edition with the Bell Mansion. And I wrote an article on women breaking down gender roles in the paranormal community.
Hands up, CJ.
Oh, here I am. Though I would not step foot into a room that was haunted. So I'm just going to throw that out there.
but you see it. A lot of these big TV shows, it's very male dominated field.
Yeah.
And you got these women that honestly are at times a lot better at paranormal investigations because they're empathetic, they're empaths, or they're empathetic, or the mom in them makes them better investigators, and they deserve to have the spotlight instead of people that run into every single building screaming, "Oh, it's a demon, it's a demon." No, it's not. You're just a fraud, but that's neither here nor there.
Yes. You know what? I take back my initial statement. If there's money involved and if somebody is looking for a new starlet for their paranormal television show, I'm your gal.
She's in. Survivor Paranormal.
I have a perfect location for you.
Okay, wait, hold on. Maybe I take it back.
It's actually, so it's the Bell Mansion. It's actually 5 minutes from my house, which is phenomenal. It's a 130-year-old building. It was a residence, and then it was a funeral home for like 93 years. It's not like a dark haunting. Like I took my now 8-year-old son there back in June, and he loved it. It's
Oh,
it's
that's cool.
it's not like a heavy presence. It's a very light atmosphere. So
well, 5 minutes from your house, Cody, that makes it only, half the country away from me. So
I know,
perfect.
right?
I'll put it on my to-do list.
And this is your first leg of the Paranormal Amazing Race.
Amazing Race.
Again.
Oh my gosh.
That's a great idea.
Wait, don't post that online. Let's turn this into a television show. Don't give anybody else that idea.
I feel like it exists somewhere, but it's just called something else, like on Sci-Fi Channel or something.
Oh,
because it seems too logical, right, to me.
You need to try to check out King's Tavern in Natchez, Mississippi. Have you heard of it, Cody?
I have not.
It is used to be a tavern, and you can still stay upstairs in the room, but it's also a great steakhouse. So, and it's
steak, then a paranormal investigation.
Exactly.
You got me. I'm done.
You cannot beat
cooking it.
I might be questioning where the steak came from.
Well, maybe, but it's really good place, they say, to see paranormal activity, and it has an excellent steak. I've never seen paranormal activity there, but I've eaten the steak and it's fantastic.
He has
spooky steak.
He has photographs from every steak he's eaten there.
I'm not Ron Swanson.
He said, "Give me all the bacon and eggs you've got." Yeah. Cody, speaking of writing, do you have any particularly favorite authors?
No. I told the wife.
Awesome.
I told the wife, hey, you should go buy his books off of Amazon because she's putting an order in for it. We got rid of Prime just because it's too addictive. So like when we actually do an Amazon order, we have to spend so much to get the free shipping now. So we're not just like impulse buying stuff, but I'm like, hey, since you're putting an Amazon order, go buy a couple of his books. And I know she's watching right now, so Han, go.
I mean, as well, right?
So favorite authors. Man, it's not paranormal, but Mitch Albom is actually like one of my favorite authors.
Oh yeah, he's good.
He's really good. John Grisham is another. I don't read a lot.
Mississippi boy there.
John Grisham, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. So you're not really super into, say, Stephen King or Edgar Allan Poe.
I mean, obviously I've read their books, but like I don't read a lot. I don't have the time to read. I am like swamped like with being a full-time dad, working full-time, writing for the magazine, trying to edit all the videos. I have a backlog. I've got investigations from June that I still have not edited that I need to edit. Yeah. So it's trying to find that balance.
Audiobooks. I've fallen in love with audiobooks because
that's a fair point. And
do
like I said,
the laundry and put the dishes away and drive with my kids in the car and listen to an audiobook.
Speaking of that, if you visit audibletrial.com/Bigfoot UFO, you can get a free trial of Audible and just check out some new books.
That's true.
That was a nice transition there.
I actually wasn't even sure that was still live, so happy to hear that it is. I really have been able to listen to so many books through that, but I am reading, like actually physically reading my first book since having my third child. So that's a big deal.
And Cody, if you need to bump up your order a little bit,
that's right. Smitty's new book is out.
You could order Mississippi Bear Hunter Holt Collier, Guiding Teddy Roosevelt in a Lifetime of Adventure. I know it's a long title. That's awesome. What my publisher made it that long, but
he's selling a lot of them too.
Yeah, sold about 60 in a month so far. No, actually, about almost 80, I guess.
So Taylor, if you're listening, go ahead and add that to the order. Just put it on my card. It's fine.
So it sounds like Taylor joined you at your first paranormal investigation experience. Is she still on board, or is she like, okay, I'm gonna leave this one to you?
She's been to the Bell Mansion with me. She went with me and our son. But she hasn't been to any other investigations. She kind of she lets me have fun, and she kind of take a back seat on this.
Nice.
I've invited her. She just it's just she usually watches the kids while I'm off doing paranormal stuff.
Such is the life of parenthood. Divide and conquer.
That's for sure. Well, Cody, I noticed one of your episodes on YouTube. I thought it was fascinating. Your son and you were exploring somewhere in California, a national park, I think, and you stumbled across this old abandoned gas station. I thought that was really fascinating. How often do you find yourself just exploring, random places that you've discovered? Can you tell us any more about the gas station?
So we were back in May. We went to California for a vacation, and we were actually on our way back from Nevada. So we took a day trip into Las Vegas and ended up getting a hotel outside of Las Vegas because we took the family to Robot Wars or BattleBots or whatever it is, because they have a residency there, which it's fun. I love watching robots tear apart other robots.
Oh yeah, it's a great show.
It's a great show. And it's so fun in person to see it. It's really cool. But yeah, we saw these abandoned gas stations. I was like, you know what? I've got my camera with me, my one camera, and I was like, you know what, Emmett, let's go explore this. It was just this abandoned gas station, and behind it there was like a triplex abandoned house too that we just walked through. And he's just my little exploring buddy. He's just fascinated by it. But we have no idea like when it closed or whatnot. But there was quite a few of them along the highway between California and Nevada. There was this water park, and I saw it on the way into Nevada, and on the way back I missed the exit, and with two fussy kids that they're stuck in a car all day. Like I couldn't convince the wife to allow me to turn around and go back. But there was like this abandoned water park that was just on the side of the highway, and I wanted to go explore that, but we didn't have the time. We had to get back down to Southern California because the next day we're going to Legoland. So
yeah.
Legoland.
Speaking of creepy places, that's
first off, we spent for 4 people, it was like $500 for the day. It was outrageously priced, and honestly, it was not worth it. I mean, for him, he absolutely loved it, and our daughter loved it. So I mean, that was a win. But like half the rides were not running, and then we had the water park. Like half the water park was closed, and I'm like, really? I'm
Bummer.
just, and it was cold too, like, which was weird. We were out there, and it was like 60 degrees, and these people are wearing like long sleeve shirts, and I'm wearing like shorts and a t-shirt. Like, y'all, this is like summer weather in Indiana here.
Well, so Cody, I was watching your video of your son and you, and y'all are exploring this decrepit, run down, former gas station. I don't know if you saw my comment on your video, but I said, y'all, that ain't no Buc-ee's. That definitely is not a Buc-ee's. And we love our Buc-ee's. But speaking of the old abandoned water park, it reminds me of 2 places here. And I know CJ is familiar with at least one of these, but one I think is super creepy. It's an old abandoned putt-putt golf course. And there's like there's a castle out there, and it's just weeds growing up all over. I think it's super abandoned, super creepy. And there's another one in a little town called Pittsboro here, and I know CJ's familiar with this. There's a coffee shop in front, the coolest coffee shop, a Cafe Diem. Is it Cafe Diem?
Yeah.
And behind it is an old motel, and I'm in an old motel, but they just use it for storage. And I'm like, that would be such a cool place to just open back up.
Oh, that's what you think when you see that place?
Oh, absolutely. So, but it makes me wonder, Cody, do you think that, places or things like buildings, are, are they part of this process of haunting? As in, do they have the ability to remember the past? And this is kind of what we're seeing. Is it something about the physical location, or is it a combination of the people that were there one time and the events that happened there? How do you see that?
I would see that as residual hauntings. When you get into locations where like something's repetitive, I would consider that a residual haunting. Um, you get spirits that like will start to do like they do their normal daily routine that they did when they were alive. Um, I really don't think the buildings itself are the reason why you get hauntings. I think of the significance of what it was to the person is why you get the hauntings, or the tragic events that have happened that cause these hauntings. Honestly, in my opinion, and this is just my theory, when we die, part of us does go on to an afterlife, and I do feel that parts of our spirit or our soul go to locations that were significant in our lives. I just was talking the other day. Somebody shared a story about haunted libraries, and I was like, that could have been a significant location for that person. That's where they felt home, or something tragic could have been it could have happened to them there, and that's why they're haunting it. I think, and it's just a theory that we split off into multiple different places.
Yeah, I like that theory. And sorry, Smitty, Cody, that made me think of another famous location that, if anywhere could be haunted, you would think this might be one. And it just recently was the site of another very tragic incident, and that's the Titanic, right? And of course, we know it was this year that another craft attempted to go down and see the Titanic and tragically imploded, right? Well, so, what that how do you approach? Are you ever worried on any of these investigations, or do you have any safety precautions that you yourself take?
So I carry a protection stone in my pocket. You can get protection stones at any metaphysical shop, but I carry, like I said, a protection stone, and then usually when I'm done, I will go outside and ground myself. I will literally take my shoes off and go bare feet into the grass and allow Mother Earth to absorb any negative energy and just push that anything negative that tries to attach to me away from me, and allow the earth to absorb that. Sounds crazy.
Something that you're taught, like when you started getting into paranormal? Are these tips that people had given you about how to approach paranormal activity and handle it?
Yes. My friend Brandon, who's the founder of Above and Below, has taught me some of this stuff, just as a precaution as I'm doing these residential cases. I went to this residential case by myself, and he's like, you probably shouldn't do that. And we had a very long conversation of how to protect myself and how to prevent me bringing home someone else. Like, I've already got one demon in this house. I don't need it. and my wife is probably listening, and she's the prettiest demon I've ever met, so it's okay.
That ought to get you out of some trouble. So I would love to follow up on this, Cody, and then we have a tremendous listener question for you. What, to tie it in and piggyback off the safety considerations, are there any ethical considerations that you utilize when dealing with these sensitive or haunted locations?
As far as what ethically?
Well, I suppose maybe just in how you treat the site and how you deal with the people that these sorts of incidents are affecting.
Yeah, so it really makes me angry when people go in and disrespect the property or disrespect the spirits. I'm not like, if you go to my TikTok or my YouTube, I've got a short about provoking spirits, but that's not something that I do. And it's something I don't recommend doing, and I don't condone that. Like, there are people that go in and will be so disrespectful to these spirits or even the locations themselves. They'll vandalize and do horrible things there, and it just makes me so angry. There are, like, I'll use this as an example. I understand it's a business, but like Eloise Asylum in Michigan, just outside of Detroit, they've got an escape room. An escape room. And this place was an asylum where people died there because they were put up because they were different. I mean, our Pennhurst had their Paracon earlier this year, and they had a photo booth of people within straitjackets. Like, that stuff makes me so angry. So yes, ethically, I think that's wrong. Morally, I think that's wrong, and I think that sends, a really bad. It gives the public a bad impression of the paranormal community. That is not what we are. That is not what we condone, and the fact that people are doing it is just ridiculous.
Point well taken, Cody. And we do have, I think this is a tremendous listener question here. This comes from listener Duncan Frere. Why the malevolence, such as at Skinwalker Ranch? And of course, we've had Eric Bard and Thomas Winterton from The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch on with us, as well as the guys from Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, Paul Bebon and Andrew Bustamante. If a being is able to travel interdimensionally or come from other star systems or galaxies, why instill animal terror in innocent folks? And I think that's a great question. And I'll let you chime in on that, Cody, and we could probably add a little bit to that as well.
See, that is a tough one. Like, maybe where they're from, that's how they, like, if something is traveling interdimensionally or coming from a different, like, maybe where they're from, that's the norm. And it's completely different than what we do here in this dimension or on Earth. Like, who knows? I mean, there are so many unanswered questions when it comes to Skinwalker Ranch. I do the paranormal, but like Skinwalkers like freak me out. So and it's really not my wheelhouse, unfortunately. Like, or aliens or Bigfoot. I'm definitely not, again, that's not my wheelhouse, but like, I don't know. I don't know why instill animal terror in innocent folks. It's just, maybe that's how their society or how the norm is where they're from. That's just my theory.
That I like that theory, and you know what? I just wonder, and I'm sure CJ has a theory on this as well, but I can't help but wonder if some of these places like Skinwalker Ranch, and I've actually heard this from other people that suspect the veil between dimensions is perhaps thinner in these locations, or there's just something special about it. And if you go back throughout our history as humans, the Native Americans could pick up on this, and this became special places to them, or even forbidden places, depending on the level of malevolence that's there, right? But perhaps it's true that with the thinner veil there between dimensions, or perhaps between galaxies, that extraterrestrials, UFOs, can pick up on this as well. And it becomes a beacon for them as well. So I also wonder, like with Skinwalker Ranch, where you had former owners there doing top secret experiments in aerospace, right, for the government. Hey, if you think about it, what better place to test top secret military technology than somewhere that's going to scare the crap out of people nobody wants to go? That's going to kind of maintain your high levels of security there. So I kind of see it all intermingling there like that.
Yeah. My knowledge of Skinwalker Ranch really only comes from current day Skinwalker Ranch and the people that we've talked to that currently reside there. So Eric Bard, who lives there now and does all of his work and research there, and Thomas Winterton, who works there and was on the show. And then the two people from the Beyond Skinwalker Ranch we've had on our show. We've also had a cattle mutilation expert on our show who spent a lot of time on Skinwalker Ranch many years ago and in current day. And it actually doesn't, to me, sound like there's too many harmful things happening on the ranch. A lot of what's happening is unknown. It's stuff that people can't explain in terms of seeing orbs and potentially seeing, interdimensional things, UFOs. I know that there was animal mutilations taking place, but we've delved into that. But while we had the cattle mutilation expert on, I had said, I would be terrified to have a hitchhiker. I said that out loud. Like I would never go there because I would be so scared to have a hitchhiker leave with me, because owners of the Skinwalker Ranch have had hitchhikers leave. And so many people commented, not all hitchhikers are bad. There are good spirits that can leave with you too. So that was kind of eye-opening for me. Like, okay, you're right. I might have jumped to conclusions there. And I don't know that all the things that are happening there are terribly scary or demonic or things to be afraid of. I think they're just things we don't totally understand. And sometimes we're afraid of that we don't understand. Speaking of haunted places, did you guys know that there is a California State University? It's California State University Channel Islands. It's in Camarillo. And it used to be a mental institute. It used to be a mental hospital. And they turned the mental hospital into the university.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that the same thing?
I mean, technically.
So it's probably a pretty good fit.
It's actually really creepy. That town in and of itself gets very, very foggy during certain parts of the year, like May, June. You hear June gloom is a term that is used often. It will just be socked in with fog all day. And then here's this like really creepy campus. I've been on it that used to be a mental institute, and it gives off some unsettling vibes for sure.
I always heard Berserkly was basically an asylum anyways.
Berserkly.
The Fog. That's a good book. The Fog.
Yes, it is. And such a depressing movie. Holy cow.
What's
or I'm either thinking of The Fog or The Mist. I think there's
Fog.
also The Mist. Yeah.
There's The Mist. Yes. That's got the movie's got the guy that was the Punisher, the original Punisher in it.
That's right.
Yes. Thomas Jane.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And that was the one that had just the most depressing ending ever. I don't even think we should talk about it. It was so bad.
Well, Cody, we're talking with you, and we haven't really asked much about. Can you tell us about your magazine? Can you tell us how we can get it, how much a subscription would be, those types of things? I'm sure our listeners are interested in maybe picking up a copy or subscribing.
Yes. You can go to paranormalitymag.com. I'm pulling up the current prices. I don't handle that. So the yearly digital subscription, so you get the digital PDF copy sent right to your email every month, is $24.99 for the whole year, or you can do it every month. It's $3.99 on the first of each month, so it's really not that bad. We got all different types of paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, Bigfoot. So we've got 12 or 13 writers, and everybody's got their thing. My thing is paranormal. and interviewing people in the paranormal community, sharing their stories, getting positive people into the front. Like I said, I've got, Kalani's coming up. I just did an interview with him. I got Jade and Mandy from the Ghost Club Paranormal. So some really big names. Working on getting Shane Pittman from 28 Days Haunted. He's agreed to an interview. Now I just gotta sit down with him, but luckily he's actually coming to my town in January, so hopefully I can force him to sit down for an interview during that. So yeah.
Well, sounds great.
I have one quick question about tools that you use. We had somebody on our show when we first got started doing this podcast. Gary Arnold was his name, and he has a documentary about electric voice phenomena. He had been recording voices in a library and a university for a really long time. Do you use EVP? If so, what sort of tool do you use, and have you found anything, heard anything?
So yes, I use an Olympus digital recorder. I thought it was a Panasonic. I screwed up, but yeah, it's an Olympus. I've caught two different. So one was a noise. Now I've got conflicting people telling me two different things. I've got one person saying that there's a codec, something inside the software that is causing this noise. And then I got another person that says it sounds like something's trying to interfere with it. It's like a mechanical clicking. I got it. If you guys want to hear it.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So it's on my YouTube. So if people want to listen to it after they watch the show, you can go listen to it. It's pretty interesting. I still can't explain what it was, but here it is. You're gonna hear a woman that I investigate with. Her name's Lisa. Ask questions, and then you just hear this noise. That clicking noise.
Yeah.
Wow. Can you play that again for us?
Sure. Here we go.
Wow, weird.
No idea.
Where were you?
So we were at the Indiana State Sanatorium. We were in the sanctuary, and there is no electricity at all in this section of building. So there's nothing. So there were two or three other digital recorders and oh my gosh, my cat jumped up and scared me. So 4 cameras that were recording, and only my digital recorder captured that audio. So like it's kind of hard to explain like what that is. Like I said, it could be the recorder itself, something with it that caused it, or it could be something trying to interfere.
Now, that clip that you played for us, was that directly off of your recorder, or was that from your computer?
So that was directly off the recorder itself. It was taken off of my recorder and put onto my computer, but all I used was my microphone to record it onto my computer. I didn't actually physically hook it to my computer. So that was straight from the speakers of the recorder itself.
Okay.
Well, you know what? When I heard it, I just pictured some sort of restraints being pulled tight and clicking through the different levels. I don't know why, but that's like a leather restraint being pulled quickly tight, with the patient and clicking through different levels of the restraint.
So in this portion of the building, it's actually that was in the administration, on the backside of the administration building, and it was one of the original buildings of the sanatorium. And in the basement of that building is the morgue.
Oh.
So I don't know if that is correlated, but we did have a lot of interference with devices in that building. My digital camera actually turned on by itself and started making noises while we were in the middle of an experiment. We had fresh batteries go completely dead within seconds. So, and then we had that, I caught that, and I don't know if it's coincidence or supernatural or whatnot. And then now, Beyond the Shadows, who I was at ISS with, we caught an EVP. Actually, I wouldn't consider it an EVP. I would consider it a disembodied voice, that because not only did my camera pick it up, but their camera picked it up, and theirs actually picked it up better than mine. And I have the audio right here. It's kind of crazy. You'll hear Cole ask a question, and then you'll hear a response. We could play it a couple of times, but I want to see what you think it says before I tell you what we think it says. So here we go.
Is there something special about this hallway, you guys? Is there something special about this hallway, you guys? Is there something special about this hallway, you guys?
It's really hard to hear. It's hard to hear. Even the question is hard to hear. So I don't know if that's just.
I don't know if it's
technology,
but
coming through from
he's saying something about a song.
Hallway.
Is there something special about this
hallway? Here, maybe it was my mic. I had the gain turned down. Maybe that. Here.
Is there something special about this hallway, you guys?
Can't really hear it. I heard the question a little clearer that time, but
I don't know why the audio's. I don't have it on my computer. Otherwise, I would pull it up. But so he asked a question. Is there something special about this hallway? And then you can hear on my camera, you can hear it, but it's not clear. On their actual audio, you can hear it say, "Go home."
Go home. Oh, now is there some place that you have? Is there a website that our listeners could go to listen to it?
Yes, I can actually put the link in the comments.
Yeah,
just because it's
I think we're just having a little. I'm sure it's very clear on your website, but coming through your computer to your microphone to us, it didn't come through quite as clearly.
Yeah, so you're definitely having some EVP in use, Cody. And we were the guest on a podcast recently, the Calling All Beings podcast. Shout out to them. Great folks, great podcast. But it was there that I learned about something for the first time. I think CJ and Smitty had never heard this either, but that this is called a spirit box. Cody, do you make use of a spirit box ever?
I do. I have the S box from Ghost Stop. Just because it can actually record.
Can we see it?
Yeah. Hold on a second. I'll go grab it. It's
right over sing here. A song while you're gone, Smitty.
Come on, Smitty.
What's that song?
Lead us in a tune.
What song? I thought it said song. I couldn't really make out what it's saying.
Well, listener Duncan Fair thought that it was saying, "Is there something special about this following you?"
Ooh. What are we talking about? Something special following me?
No, sorry.
I think it was the cat. Oh. Whoa, look at that.
So what are the numbers on it telling us?
Oh, that's the frequency. So it scans. So what it does is it scans FM. Now, the crazy thing is, I was at an investigation at a place in North Manchester, Indiana. It's called the Shabby Owl. It's a former Knights of Pythias temple. And I was in the closet doing an hour-long solo session. And I heard my name, Cody, 3 times during that session. Now, here's the thing. How often do you guys hear Cody on the radio? You really don't. If I was living in Cody, Wyoming, that'd be a different story. But in northern Indiana, you don't really hear it very often. So I have no idea why I was hearing that. So it was kind of crazy. I've used a Phasm box, which uses a computer. It's kind of like an Ovilus, and it's a word generator. I've had my name come across it. I've had my partner Doug's name come across it. I've had the client's name come across it. So it's kind of crazy when you hear your stuff come across. It makes you pause and be like, wait, what? Yeah.
Ooh.
And was that called an S box? Did I see that?
Yeah, so it's called the S box. You can go to Ghost Stop. It's kind of like GameStop, but for Ghost.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that like GameStop?
Sweet. Because I'm putting together a personal Christmas list here for
Yes. I love Ghost Stop. I got their IR camera. Actually, I have it right here. So it shoots 4K. It's got an IR light, and it's full spectrum. I absolutely love it. It's like $200 camera.
You've got all the goodies.
I know.
That's cool. Will it zoom? Does it zoom?
You know what? I don't know. I only set it up as I only use it as a static camera. And this is the broken one. I have another one. Like the screen is like all, I don't know what happened, but like the screen's all jacked. It still records, so I still use it, but it like overheated and then the screen started. I don't use the IR light on it anymore. I use an external IR light because it just gets way too hot.
I was going to say, that sounds normal. You went into a paranormal investigation and your camera overheated and the screen cracked. Totally normal stuff. That happens to all of us and all of our cameras.
Yeah. So, no. So the S box, I was playing with it in my house the one day, and I probably shouldn't have. I'm sorry. I'm just looking for the S box so I can link it to you guys so you can buy it.
That's great.
I got it right here. I was playing with it, and my son came up to me when we were playing with it, and he said hi, and it says hi back. Something said hi. And before I got a chance to stop him, he's like, "Do you want to be my friend?" And it responded yes. And I'm like, nope, shut it off. We're not. Nope, not in this house. Yeah. I think my house is haunted, but I don't think it's like anything bad. Like last night, I was standing between my living room and my kitchen, and I was facing into the kitchen, and one of my daughter's toys, she had like this toy egg, it was sitting on our coffee table, just fell to the ground. It wasn't the cat's, because one was in the window, the other one was sitting on the couch, and the other one was in the kitchen. There was nothing near the thing, and it just came. And then I put it back up on the coffee table. And then in the morning, my wife said it was back on the ground. I don't know if the cats had knocked it down or what, but and I've had cat balls go off in my basement. I'll have them sitting like on my desk sometimes and just go off. And I'm like, no.
Wow. I tell you what, I would not recommend getting a My Buddy doll in your house. I think I would avoid that. And two, every time you say S box, I can't help but think of that podcast called S Town, which was a pretty good, pretty good podcast. I think that took place in rural Alabama, and I know that area because every time I drive back home, I get real close to the S Town area. And then 3, Cody, I got to ask now. You mentioned your cats. in your opinion, are animals or any kind of animals more attuned to the paranormal than humans, or any animals more attuned than other kinds, like, cats?
I think cats and dogs can tell if there's a spirit. Absolutely. I think they're more into, like, we're supposed to be the smarter thing on the food chain, but honestly, I think we're pretty dumb when it comes to stuff like this. No, I think they're more in tune with nature just because they are animals. I mean, we're animals too, but you get what I'm saying. I just think they can actually sense that stuff.
We're far too distracted as humans
Yes.
to sense anything.
I mean, like, this thing distracts me all the time. So.
Well, Tim, this is a different sort of subject to have hot takes about, but do you have any hot takes for Cody?
Yeah, I would love to get your hot take, Cody, just on a few things if you're up for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we'll segue into CJ and kind of closing out for the night. I'm dying to know your hot take on what do you think about paranormal movies such as Poltergeist, The Exorcist, The Shining, Ghostbusters, Beetlejuice. Do any of them stand out for you? Any of them your favorites? Anything in there you're like, oh, wow, that's pretty good?
I love The Exorcist. I've seen it 670 times, and it gets funnier each time I watch it. Sorry, that was a quote from Beetlejuice. Thank you. He's like, what is
don't say it again. Beetlejuice.
So yeah, I love Beetlejuice. That is a hilarious.
That's movie. 3 times we're in trouble.
Beetlejuice and Candyman. Here we come.
Michael Keaton was just amazing in that movie.
He
like
was.
when he's like, they're like the couple's asking him his qualifications. Well, I went to Juilliard. I've seen The Exorcist 670 times. They get funnier each time I watch it. You're talking to a freaking dead guy here. No, I said Poltergeist scared the crap out of me as a child. Like, I was like, can this happen? Can I get sucked into a TV? No, so I love I'll watch horror movies because my wife just loves horror movies, and we just watched one the other day. It's The Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe.
That was really good.
It is a really good movie, and it's based on a true story. Woo! And my wife's like, "This is why I don't want you doing residential cases." And I'm like, but somebody's got to do them. So, no, I love the Conjuring movies, even though the Warrens were horrible people. And I'm sorry, I and it makes a lot of people mad that I've gotten actually some hate mail for stuff that I've said about the Warrens, but they were extremely problematic. They were frauds and grifters. Yeah, they gave us some good theories and stuff, but they were also really horrible people. I mean, I'm not going to go.
That takes care of Tim's second hot take.
There we go. Well, I have to admit, I was thinking about Beetlejuice earlier, Cody, when you were talking about the couple that did their vows in a mental institute. I think they did their vows or got married there, and I'm like, oh, the Beetlejuice family. They got engaged.
They got engaged. So they it was a sanatorium, and then it became a prison. But Angel and Lindsay, they were tour guides, and they met there, and first kiss, first date, and then they got engaged, and they were going to get married there, but there's some legal stuff where the site's not going to be available for their wedding. But yes, I love Angel. He is absolutely hilarious, and he actually dressed up as Michael Myers a couple of weeks ago and greeted
not
their
even
kids.
Halloween,
not even Halloween, but greeted the kids at the bus stop as Michael Myers.
Oh my god!
So it's just he is. I love the guy. He is so positive and so fun. I can't wait to investigate with him in actually 2 weeks. So
fun. We'll have to follow you guys on that.
actually, it's next week. Next Thursday, I believe. So, yeah.
That will be on your YouTube channel, I take it?
I am going to live stream. So, yeah.
Cool.
That will be awesome. Cody, I would love to get your hot take on, speaking of poltergeist, on actual poltergeist. The difference between ghosts, say, and poltergeist.
So, poltergeist is going to be your spirit that moves things around and is more active, in my opinion. And obviously, people have different opinions on stuff. But a poltergeist is going to be the type of spirit that it's going to be more of an intelligent haunting, because they're going to move stuff around, and they're going to be the ones that tend to mess with you and get physical with you, as opposed to something that's, a regular spirit. Just your garden variety is not going to push you down and stuff. But you get into a poltergeist, they're gonna be more angry.
Right. And is that something that you personally would have to call in for, say, backup on, or refer to someone else, or would you ever dare tackle that by yourself?
I would not tackle that by myself. Luckily, I have cultivated relationships in the paranormal community with quite a few experts. But most of the time, I refer them to Above and Below Paranormal. If they're like on, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, that stuff. But if they're like out west, I really I've got a couple of teams in like Arizona or California that I can refer. But, most of the time I have to research, hey, who would I call for somebody in, Wisconsin? But I've got a team in Wisconsin that I can call, or, it's just cultivating these relationships.
Right. And my last hot take, Cody, for you tonight, we've seen a lot lately how there are people in the ufology world that seem to connect UFOs, extraterrestrials, with demons, perhaps. And we see on shows like Skinwalker Ranch, there seems to be some sort of connection between anomalous behavior or anomalous events and UFO activity and paranormal activity. And we've had several guests on this show that have told us about links between cryptid or Bigfoot activity and paranormal activity. What's your hot take on the intersection here between all of these anomalous events, Bigfoots, cryptids, UFOs, the paranormal?
See, I think I really can't speak as far as Bigfoot, because I'm not an expert on that, or anybody or anything that follows that. But as far as aliens and the paranormal, I think maybe the aliens actually pick up on the energy that spirits put out, and they pick up on it, and that's the intersection to it. I don't know. I would love to know. So if there's an alien out there, if you could send me an email or abduct me, that would be fantastic.
Be careful what you wish for. Yes.
Hey.
Oh my God.
Hi, Blake.
Wait, do you know Blake?
No, I don't. I just said,
okay.
He said, hey, Cody. So I said, hey, back. You know what? If I get abducted, as long as I can get out of work tomorrow, that'd be great. Because I have to be to work at like 2 a.m. But no, see, I would get abducted and no one would believe me. They'd be like, Cody, see this room with all this pillows on the wall? Go spend some time in there.
You're not wrong. I mean, so many people that have abduction stories definitely fight that battle of, do I even tell anybody, because I'll turn into the crazy person. But let me tell you, Cody, we have had people on this show that have been abducted by aliens. And it is very clear to me that those who are open to the universe and who invite the universe into their homes are more likely to get abducted. So don't be saying, come abduct me.
See,
Yeah, be careful. And some of them get probed in not so nice ways.
And that's what I was just gonna say. I'm gonna ask them, hey, what's up with anal probing?
Like, we haven't had anybody who's had that done yet.
No,
but there's been some other things.
Yeah, there's been semen collections. I'll just leave it that. And let's shout out to listener Blake Best, friend of the show. And look what I have sitting here right beside me. I hope Blake is still watching. Blake Best, author of Razor's Edge. Blake Best, author of Whispers in the Woods. This is a good one. Blake Best, author of a particular favorite of mine, Fathom, a Loch Ness story. Blake Best, star of, and by the way, the best actor in this entire movie, He Comes to Kill. And Blake Best, Bad Dreams. Blake Best, that's a big shout out to you. Didn't know I had all that sitting here.
Yeah,
right
and he's a fantastic composer. He makes great music.
And he's a composer. Oh, yeah, that Blake Best, and also by Blake Best. Let me see. Here is Monsters in the Woods for us a little bit. That's Blake Best right there. Thanks for tuning in, Blake.
He's awesome. Very talented guy.
What's up, Blake?
I had a joke about the Loch Ness book. It cost about $350.
Cost about $350.
I
don't get it.
It's a South Park reference.
Oh.
They had this episode, and the one character's dad. So Chef, his dad was like kept going on about Loch Ness needing $3.50, and then he's like, yeah, these Girl Scouts came to my house, and I asked them how much were the cookies, and the Girl Scout said $3.50, and he's like, oh, and then I realized it was the Loch Ness monster dressed as a girl. It was hilarious. It's hilarious. That's just my type of. Yeah, see, Blake knows what I'm talking about.
I'll never forget the first time Blake was on with us, and Smitty was here at the same time. Blake was like, "Oh, hey, Smitty, you're kind of like the Loch Ness monster yourself. Nobody hardly ever sees you."
I've tried to do better recently.
The elusive Smitty.
The elusive Smitty. We're all busy. We all get it. All right. Well, Cody, this has been so much fun. You've shared some really great stories with us and given us some more insight into paranormal investigation. For those of you that want to read more about what he does, you can go to paranormalitymag.com. That's where he writes. And you can also check out his live stream next Thursday on YouTube as he goes to investigate some more. And we thank everybody for joining us. Tim, Smitty, Cody, any last thoughts before we sign out of here?
Yes. I have a special, so go subscribe to Paranormality Mag. I have a special story that's a subscriber exclusive coming out October 1st. It's the origins of the beginning of, or the inspiration to the beginning of Jeepers Creepers. It's based on a true story that actually happened an hour from where I live right now. But all I will say is the woman that was murdered was my dad's high school guidance counselor.
What?
So yes, that story will be released October 1st. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
All right. We'll have to check it out.
I'm sorry. By the way, Duncan Ferris says, thanks, guys. Interesting show. I subscribe to the magazine. That would be Paranormality Magazine.
Yes.
That should be a raise for our guest, Cody Sharpe. Cody, I got to follow up on that. You said this was the inspiration for Jeepers Creepers. We're talking the movie there with the dude, the kind of demonic dude. It comes around every 17 years or something like that.
Yeah. So, okay. So the scene in the beginning of the movie where Justin Long and his girlfriend they see the guy dumping the bodies and they're getting chased. That is inspired. Now the writer of the movie claims it's not true, but I just dropped the link to the magazine in the comments. But it is based on a true event that happened in Coldwater, Michigan in April 1990. I want people to go read the story.
Okay, well, you have to read the story. It's an exclusive.
I'll tell. I mean, the information's out there, but like I want people to go read the story. It's a really good story.
I just Googled it, and the guy in real life very much resembles the Jeepers Creepers guy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Mm-hmm. See, Smitty, I always thought that Jeepers Creepers 2 was based on a Smitty and Coach Mounts story because it's a ball team and the bus driver and their coach is returning from a ball trip and they're on the bus. I think that was Jeepers Creepers 2. And the Jeeper Creeper attacks. The whole movie is basically about him attacking a school bus full of like a high school ball team.
That could have easily happened to us at one point in time. That's for dang sure.
But what I thought, of course, where the movie producer made a big mistake, I thought this was a missed opportunity. And it reminded me of, the modern push in Hollywood for more equity. They, of course, made the protagonist of the movie one of these, this young couple from the high school. Of course, in real life, they're like 30 years old, but they're playing high schoolers, right? It was a missed opportunity to make the bus driver the protagonist, but instead, what do? They kill the bus driver immediately. Just very missed opportunity, I think. As former bus driver here, me and Smitty, current bus driver, why could the bus driver not be the hero of the movie?
Well, I'm just a substitute bus driver, but there are some days when I'm driving, I wish somebody would kill me.
That's
so wait. My real question, I can't get past this. Isn't Jeepers Creepers a pretty old movie?
What are you trying to say?
No, it's from the beginning of the 2000s.
Oh gosh, I thought it was like 80s, and then you said Justin Long, and I'm like, wait, the math does not add up in my head.
Now the song Jeepers Creepers. That's old. Did Johnny Horton write that? No, it's a guy from Savannah, Georgia wrote that. I can't remember who it is. I went to his grave one time when I was there.
We've got somebody commenting here. Hello from Australia. That's awesome. Hello. Also, SEQ UFOW. There's got to be something to do with UFOs in there, right?
Welcome to the show.
The story with that one? Okay.
Yeah, if you can tell us what's up with that.
Harry Warren wrote the song Jeepers Creepers, and it was Johnny Mercer who was the lyricist.
That's it. Johnny Mercer. I've been to his grave.
Have you?
I went to the Midnight of the Garden of Good and Evil tour in Savannah, Georgia.
Oh.
Very cool.
Did you go through at midnight?
No, I did not. I went through it during the day. It's a very, if you've never seen Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, it is an awesome movie. It's a great book, too. I've read the book twice.
I have been to a graveyard that had a song written about visiting it at midnight.
Oh.
The graveyard of Hank Williams Sr. in Montgomery, Alabama.
Midnight in Montgomery.
Great
Silver
song.
Eagle.
I've seen
and this is the Southeast Queensland UFO Watch. Tune in. Awesome. And we do accept free Vegemite if you got any.
You can make us a Vegemite sandwich.
I want UFO stories
from the land down
Southeast
under
Queensland. That's what I want. I want to hear those stories.
The women glow and
okay, we have gotten off track.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
we have gotten off track. So I'm gonna bring it back. That's my job here. Bring us all back. Okay, once again, Cody, we are so grateful to you for joining us. We thank you for sharing those stories with us. I'm not even gonna give Tim and Smitty another chance to bring anything else up. It's time to roll. It's time to roll out.
I appreciate it.
So thank you for joining us. We hope that you will come back on again. I know you're going to have so many more stories to share in the future as you continue your paranormal investigations. And I'm going to throw it to Smitty to sign us out of here.
Well, make sure to listen to Cody's podcast, subscribe to the magazine, and watch his YouTube channel. And All Things Unexplained listeners, be happy, be strange, and listen to All Things Unexplained. Have a good night.
I'm going to get the last word and check out BigfootUFO.com. Thanks,
big
BigfootUFO.com. Thanks. Like, share, follow, comment, subscribe, support. What's your hot take on Travis Taylor?
I've got an exclusive for you guys if you want it about the Alaska.
We do.
Okay.
All Things Unexplained.
So some of that I think, sir, will save for closed session.